it wrong to pay tithe today? But I'm here to tell you it is a curse to pay tithe today. Don't take my word for it, but let's look at the scripture to establish the truth. Tithing was first recorded in the days of Abraham under the priesthood of Melchizedek, and then was later reinstituted in the law of Moses under the priesthood of the tribe of Levites. The law of Moses came with both blessings and curses. If you keep the law, there will be blessing. And you violate the law, there are curses and consequences. Now, tithing is part of the law of Moses, which was handed over, as I said, to the priesthood of the tribe of Levites. Children of Israel were mandated to keep the law on tithing. And that is because they live under the dispensation of the priesthood of the tribe of Levites, under the law of Moses. Believers today are not under the law of Moses, but rather we are under the grace of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You can see this in the book of Romans, in Romans chapter 6, verse 14. Romans chapter 6, verse 14 read, it says, "For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace." The Bible is abundantly clear that we are not under the law of Moses, but under grace. As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ came specifically to redeem us from the law of Moses. And we also can see this in the book of Galatians, in Galatians chapter 3, from verse 4 to 5. Galatians chapter 3, verse 4 to 5 read, "For when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem they that were under the law, that we might receive the adoptions of sons. So Christ came to give his life that we may be redeemed from the law of Moses and from the priesthood of the tribe of Levites. Therefore, the death and resurrection of Christ ends the law of Moses, which is why the Bible said in Romans chapter 10, verse 4, that Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. And the book of Hebrews chapter 7, verse 12 also read, "For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law. So therefore, Christ is the end of the law of Moses. And the primary purpose for which he came was to redeem us from the law of Moses and establish the law of grace by his death and his resurrection." The book of Jeremiah chapter 31 from verse 31 to 33 read, "Behold, the days cometh, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers, in the days that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord." Now let's leave it at verse 32. Now this same law which the children of Israel were unable to keep, that makes the prophet Malachi to cry out and say they are robbing God, is this same covenant, this same law that some pastors today are insisting that believers today must continue to keep. But most unfortunately is that they are not asking to keep the law in the way that it is written according to the law of Moses, which in itself becomes a sin because you are not keeping the law as it is commanded to be kept by the hands of Moses. We cannot pick and choose which law of Moses to keep or how to keep it in our own terms. if we have to keep the law of Moses, we have to keep it as it is written according to the law. Now let's see Galatians chapter 3 verse 10, how it becomes a curse if we fail to keep the law according to the laws of Moses. Galatians 3 verse 10 read, "For as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse. For cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things, which is written in the book of the law, to do them." So therefore, if we must keep the law of Moses and keep the law of tithing, we must keep the law in accordance to the scripture as it is written and commanded to be kept. We don't pick and choose what to keep or how to keep it. So therefore, it is a curse to pick and choose or determine how you choose to keep the law. By the law of Moses, there are 4 types of tithes, which I have already spelled out in the part 1 of the truth about tithes. None of these 4 types of tithes recorded in scripture are being kept today, but rather what the church is demanding today is a reintroduction of tithing to Christendom by King Ethelwulf of England, which was later ratified by the Parliament of England in the act called the Tithing Commutation Act, passed by the Parliament of England somewhere in 855 AD, if I'm not mistaken. So tithing in churches today is not biblical and is unscriptural, and it is a curse to tithe today. Because Christ gave his life to redeem us from the law. And this law, which even God himself foretold by the hands of Jeremiah, that the time will come when we make a new covenant, not according to the covenant which they break. So Christ has come to give us a new covenant. It is this same old covenant which the children of Israel were unable to keep. The prophet Malachi had to cry out and say they are robbing God. This same covenant will ignore the death of Christ that redeemed us from that covenant and embraces again that same old covenant for which Christ has died for, to say we must keep. Tithing is not for church, it's not for the church today. We are not under the law, but under the grace of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And it is a curse to tithe, as you see in Malachi chapter 3 verse 10. For as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse. So if you choose to keep the law on tithing, you subject yourself to the law of Moses, and by effect you subject yourself to the curse of the law. If you want to know more about tithing, please DM me or leave a comment in the comment section. Like and follow my page or subscribe for more of my teachings. God bless you.